Welcome to this stellar journey through two applications pertaining to the withdrawal of federal lands from mineral entry in Nevada, brought to you by the Nevada Division of Minerals. During this presentation, I will highlight two applications that the Nevada Division of Minerals has configured dealing with land use. First, the Nevada Mining and Land Withdrawal History Experience. This application is a compilation of data highlighting and summarizing key information pertaining to the long mining and land withdrawal history of Nevada. The application can be found on the home page of our Open Data or Hub site, located at data-indom.opendata.arcgis.com under the Featured Content section. Each decade has its own dedicated interactive map and historical narrative. Embedded in the application are three interactive dashboards. The first two focus on land withdrawals through time using the interactive bar charts and gauges along with date pickers to analyze data. The third dashboard focuses on historic mineral production. All references used to compile this application can be found in the bottommost section of the application. The second application is referred to as lands with or having the potential for mineral entry conflicts. This application is more analytical. All layers of data we commonly use to explore impacts to mineral exploration and mining associated with proposed land withdrawals from mineral entry are available within the application for both professionals and the general public to explore and utilize. Analysts can visualize and summarize cumulative mining claim density, cumulative annual assessment and maintenance fees paid, along with current and historic exploration mining claims, notices, and mining plans on a per-section basis. These data can be compared and summarized with respect to publicly proposed withdrawal areas or to analyze potential conflicts prior to the public scoping period of proposed withdrawals. There are many factors involved when it comes to land management, including grazing, recreation, mining, science, biodiversity, conservation, national defense, wilderness, historical resources, renewable energy, endangered species, along with a range of diverse values that make up the nebulous matter of federal land management, or what I will call our land management protostar. All of these factors are related to one another in a variety of ways, and all have their own group of hominids advocating for their stronghold in the schema of land management. Even in land management, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. But at the end of the day, all factors pertaining and relating to land management lie within the galaxy of the Federal Land Policy Management Act, or FLPMA. FLPMA defines statutory land management principles, lays out provisions for the BLM to follow in its management of federal lands within the United States, and defines multiple use upon them. The principal or major uses include and are limited to domestic livestock grazing, fish and wildlife development and utilization, mineral exploration and production, rights of way, outdoor recreation, and timber production. Focusing on Nevada. The borders of Nevada enclose over 70 million acres of land, of which over 61 million acres are federally managed land. As my previous boss would always say, the good thing about Nevada is that it's 86% federal land. The bad thing about Nevada is that it's 86% federal land. With federally managed lands, we see a variety of user groups who make up the multi-use spectrum, all wanting their interests staked on the landscape. In Nevada, this has resulted in a current 28% of federally managed lands within its borders being effectively or completely removed from mineral entry. Effectively, meaning it would be really challenging, if not impossible, to proceed with mineral development. This dashboard and the one presented on the next slide are part of the Nevada mining and land withdrawal history experience. This dashboard shows the major withdrawal categories in the state from largest to smallest, starting with Department of Defense, followed by wilderness and wilderness study areas, national monuments, areas of critical environmental concern or ACECs, national conservation areas, National Park Service, national recreation areas, and Fish and Wildlife Service. There are more, but these are the major players. In the lower right-hand corner, we see a graph representing leasing throughout the state, with oil, gas, and geothermal taking up a large piece of the pie, followed by solar leases and then mining plans, extra emphasis added. I feel like it is important to note the acres permitted for a solar field will result in significantly more disturbance than acres leased for oil, gas, geothermal, or mining. So how did we get here? Well, about 160 years of federal conveyances, including homesteads and state selections, numerous species, environmental and historic conservation acts, evolving federal policies and regulations, special land management designations such as wilderness, wilderness study areas, and ACECs, presidential declarations of national monuments, along with economic development acts encompassing more land swaps, conservation areas, and disposals have brought us into a vast clouded nebula orbiting the land management protostar. As more variables gravitate towards our protostar, interactions will become more common, complex, and undoubtedly heated. The orbiting focal variables will change over time as issues arise, demand changes, and new matter evolves. Take, for example, natural resource development and conservation. In a developing region, be it land or a star, resources are required for the initial assembly. After construction is well underway, conservation will become a larger part of the equation. But that doesn't take away from the need to sustain what has been built and what is evolving within. Another example would be technology, which comes with a consumptive cost. If you want technology, you will need minerals, so by default, you will need mining. It's what makes so many things we use all day, every day, like our phones and internet, possible. In a recent report by the International Energy Agency, they note that a typical electric car requires 6 times the mineral inputs of a conventional car, and an onshore wind plant requires 9 times more mineral resources than a gas-fired plant. This doesn't mean that strides shouldn't be taken to lower atmospheric emissions, or that mining should triumph over conservation, or that conservation should conquer recreation or even national defense, because without national defense, our liberties to make such informed decisions on multiple use for our federal lands, or even the federal lands themselves, could be totally lost. Also, our national liberties allow us to have high environmental and humanitarian standards, so failing to enable resource development here will only cause mining to take place in other regions where environmental and humanitarian regulations are either not complied with, lesser, or don't exist at all. All variables and concerns need to be evaluated in a fair and balanced manner. So if one variable, or maybe a few variables, accumulate too much mass, they will begin outweighing the others in the decision-making process. Their increasing gravitational pull will quickly drag all the other variables down in silence, collapsing the land management star, possibly in a supernova-like fashion, leaving a large black hole where multiple-use decisions can never escape. However, if the land management star has a smaller, more balanced mass, it will have a much longer lifespan as it utilizes and makes decisions regarding all, emphasis added, of its resources efficiently and equally. Informed and balanced decision-making will create this low-mass, self-sustaining land management star. Informed decision-making can save both time and money and enable land matters to travel through the decision-making process with a bit more ease. And all of this starts with data analysis using data and tools made available for anyone. With that, at least on the mineral side, I would now like to demonstrate the lands with or having the potential for mineral entry conflicts. Let's start with analyzing an area that has already been withdrawn. We will zoom into the area outlined by the red box in the center of the screen. Zooming in, we can see an overwhelming but necessary amount of data appear, including current and historic mining and exploration plans, exploration notices, mining claim points, claim density per section, and historic mining districts. Included within the application, but not displayed in this view, are layers for solar and wind rights-of-way, as well as oil, gas, and geothermal leases. We will look at the latter with respect to the Roberts Mountains Wilderness Study Area, or WSA. We will select the Filter Data option from the top left-hand ribbon of the application and use the Select tool from the upper left-hand widget bar in the Map panel to select the WSA. Next, we will look at the sum of annual maintenance fees paid and the claim density within the selected WSA boundaries by choosing the second item on the Filter Data list. We will use the default option for Choose the Filter Type, which is set at Selecting Features from Data Source, and we will confirm the layer we want to select from, and then we will click Apply. In this example, we are selecting from the lands withdrawn from mineral entry completely or effectively. The results appear. We have selected all mining claims, current and historic, that are within the MLRS database and within the boundary of the WSA. The sum of the claim listings displays underneath the main box, and the listings themselves display within the box we are working in, along with the option to export the results for external use. We will do the same thing to see the average number of claim listings per section and to calculate claim density by using the black arrows to navigate back to the main list of filter options and selecting the claims per section density option. Here, I would like to point out that there is also the option to draw your own graphic within the application, which would be useful for those wanting to propose a new withdrawal. You can also apply a buffer to any selection method you utilize. We will click Apply. And density calculations will appear. So within the Roberts Mountains WSA, we have a max total of $884,745 in claim fees paid, with the average fee per section being $768,869, and a grand total of 3,275 claim listings selected. What does this show? Prospectivity, a geographic representation of monetary investment. Over $800,000 has been invested into the ground. Someone saw something of interest. Maybe it wasn't economical to extract at the time. Maybe the commodity wasn't in demand. However, in this ever-changing world we live in, Faced with increasing demand for mineral resources, what wasn't economic or valuable then may be now or further down the road. However, if the lands are off limits to mineral entry when the need is present, the ability to access resources will be greatly complicated or lost entirely. The same analysis can be performed with respect to any of the listings in the main data filter box. We have just demonstrated one method for making data publicly available so that impacts due to potential land withdrawals can be analyzed with respect to prospective mineral development areas. This tool can be used by entities proposing a withdrawal prior to the Federal Register posting, or by entities or individuals commenting on such matters. While proposals may come and go, outreach and education should always be taking place so all entities that enter the land management orbit understand the causes and effects of decisions that confront them and can balance the needs of our nation while limiting unforeseen and potential detrimental environmental and humanitarian issues elsewhere in the world. Applications and hub sites give us the ability to get data, analytical tools, and information out to the public, enabling informed, balanced, and sustainable decision-making regarding the use of our public lands. Before we conclude, I would also like to point out our Claims Habitation Interactive Map Experience application, which is an application for visualizing mineral prospectivity. We receive numerous calls from individuals buying and selling mining claims. The data within this application might be used to approximate comps for those interested in buying and selling the latter. I would also like to make mention of the claims site. This site is a free, emphasis added, platform for exploring and downloading BLM mining claims, plan, and notice geospatial data for the Western U.S., curated by yours truly. Thanks again for taking this journey with me.